The world's oceans are, vast and powerful forces of nature. They cover most of our planet, holding secrets in their deep, dark waters. There is one particular stretch of the North Atlantic Ocean that has captured the human imagination for centuries. It's a place where stories of mystery and unexplained events gather like clouds before a storm. This area is famously known as the Bermuda Triangle. It's not an official name you'll find on any world map. Rather, it's a name given to an area of the sea that has become legendary for the number of ships and aircraft that are said to have vanished within its boundaries, seemingly without a trace. The Bermuda Triangle, sometimes called the Devil's Triangle, forms a loose triangular shape in the ocean. Bermuda, a small island in the Atlantic, Miami on the southern tip of Florida, and San Juan, the capital of Puerto Rico. Inside this vast expanse of water, countless vessels have sailed and numerous aeroplanes have flown, yet for some, their journeys ended unexpectedly. The stories tell of communications suddenly ceasing, of ships found adrift with no crew, and of planes disappearing from radar screens in clear weather. These tales have woven a tapestry of intrigue and fear around this particular part of our planet's great oceans. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle didn't begin overnight. It grew slowly, piece by piece, over many decades. It was popularized in the mid-20th century by writers who collected these strange stories. They connected unrelated incidents, drawing lines between disappearances that happened years or even centuries apart. The idea of a mysterious force at work, something beyond our normal understanding, was captivating. People began to wonder if there was something truly unusual about this patch of sea. Was it a gateway to another dimension? Was it home to unknown technologies left by ancient civilizations? Or was there something else entirely, a natural phenomenon just waiting to be understood? As we explore this enigma, we must remember that the ocean is a wild and often unforgiving place. It has its own rules and its own immense power. The stories of the Bermuda Triangle are a fascinating part of maritime history. They speak to our deep-seated curiosity about the unknown and our desire to find answers where there seem to be none. But to truly understand this place, we must look beyond the legend. We must examine the facts, explore the scientific possibilities, and consider the human element in each and every one of these perplexing tales. The answers may be less fantastical than the legends, but they're no less compelling. The first recorded accounts of strange phenomena within the Bermuda Triangle come from a very famous explorer indeed. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed his 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, across the uncharted waters of the Atlantic. His journey was one of history's greatest voyages of discovery, but it was not without its moments of profound uncertainty. As his fleet passed through the area we now call the Bermuda Triangle, his crew, already on edge after weeks at sea, witnessed things that deeply unsettled them. These events, meticulously recorded in Columbus's own logbook, became the earliest seeds of the Triangle's mysterious reputation, long before the name was ever conceived. One of the most significant events Columbus noted was the peculiar behavior of his compass. Navigational tools were the lifeblood of these early explorers. A reliable compass was the only thing that told them which way was north in the vast, featureless expanse of the ocean. Yet, on this journey, the compass needle began to behave erratically. It no longer pointed towards the North Star. Instead, it shifted, pointing to a different position. For the sailors, this was deeply frightening. It was as if the very laws of nature were failing them. Columbus, a skilled navigator, had to soothe his terrified crew, explaining that it was perhaps the star that moved, not the compass that was broken. As if a faulty compass were not enough, another strange sight appeared a few nights later. Columbus and his crew saw a great flame of fire crash into the sea in the distance. They described it as a massive streak of light, falling from the sky and disappearing into the dark water. No one knew what it was. In an age without knowledge of meteors or other astronomical events, such a sight could only be interpreted as a powerful and mysterious omen. To the sailors, It was another sign that they had entered a dangerous and perhaps enchanted part of the world, a place where the heavens themselves were behaving in ways they could not comprehend. Today we can look back at Columbus's records with the benefit of modern scientific understanding. The compass malfunction he described is now known as magnetic declination. The Earth's true geographic North Pole and the magnetic North Pole are not in the same location, and in certain parts of the world, including the Bermuda Triangle, a compass needle will point towards the magnetic pole, causing this discrepancy. The great flame of fire was very likely a meteor burning up as it entered the Earth's atmosphere. A spectacular but entirely natural event. Columbus was not sailing through a supernatural realm, but through a part of the world where natural forces were simply more pronounced. Centuries after Columbus, another famous story unfolded in these same waters, one that would be immortalized not in a sailor's log, but on the stage. In 1609, a fleet of 9 English ships set sail from Plymouth, bound for the new colony of Jamestown in Virginia. The flagship of this fleet was a vessel named the Sea Venture. On board were colonists, supplies, and the fleet's admiral, Sir George Somers. The journey was meant to bring relief and new life to the struggling settlement. However, the Atlantic had other plans. A violent storm described as a hurricane of terrifying force separated the Sea Venture from the rest of the fleet and left it at the mercy of the raging ocean. For 3 days and 3 nights, the crew and passengers battled the ferocious storm. The ship was battered by mountainous waves and torn apart by the howling winds. Leaks sprang up everywhere, and everyone on board, from the admiral to the passengers, worked tirelessly to bail water, knowing that if they stopped, the ship would surely sink. Just as they were about to give up all hope, exhausted and defeated, they spotted land. Admiral Somers deliberately steered the damaged ship towards the shore, wedging it between 2 large rocks. This act saved the lives of all 150 people aboard. They had crash-landed on the shores of an uninhabited island, Bermuda. The survivors of the Sea Venture found themselves stranded on what they had believed to be the Isle of Devils, a place sailors feared and avoided. But instead of devils, they discovered a paradise. The island was lush, with fresh water, plentiful food like wild pigs and turtles, and a comfortable climate. For nearly a year, they lived on Bermuda, a castaway community thriving in isolation. Using timber salvaged from the wrecked Sea Venture and wood from the island's cedar trees, they accomplished an incredible feat. They built 2 new, smaller ships, which they named the Deliverance and the Patience. In these new vessels, they finally completed their journey to Jamestown. The incredible tale of the shipwreck and survival reached England and caused a great sensation. It is widely believed that this true story of a terrifying storm, a shipwreck on a remote island, and the survival of its inhabitants served as a direct inspiration for one of the greatest playwrights in history, William Shakespeare. His play, The Tempest, written shortly after the news of the Sea Venture arrived, tells the story of a group of nobles shipwrecked on a magical island ruled by the sorcerer Prospero. While Shakespeare added magic and spirits, the core elements of the plot, the violent tempest, the shipwreck and the enchanted island, echo the real-life drama of the Sea Venture. Among the many legends of the Bermuda Triangle, few are as chilling as the story of the Ellen Austin. This tale is a classic ghost ship narrative, a story that speaks to our deepest fears of the sea as a vast and lonely place. The alleged event took place in 1881. The Ellen Austin, an American schooner, was on a journey from London to New York. As it sailed through the calm waters of the Sargasso Sea, a strange and eerie region within the Bermuda Triangle, known for its thick seaweed, the crew spotted another vessel. It was a schooner, just like their own, drifting silently on the open ocean. As they drew closer, they realized something was terribly wrong. The ship appeared to be in perfect condition. Its sails were set and its cargo was intact, yet there was no sign of life. The captain of the Ellen Austin hailed the mysterious ship but received no reply. A profound and unsettling silence hung over the vessel. A boarding party was sent over to investigate. They stepped onto the deck of a ship that was completely deserted. The logbook was found, but its last entry was several weeks old and offered no clues. It was a ghost ship, a vessel without a crew, floating aimlessly in the middle of the Atlantic. The captain of the Ellen Austin saw an opportunity. The abandoned ship and its cargo were valuable. He decided to claim it as salvage. He placed a small prize crew of his own men onto the derelict schooner with instructions to sail it alongside the Ellen Austin to New York. The two ships set off together. However, a sudden squall descended, and the two vessels were separated in the fog and rain. When the weather cleared, 2 days later, the Ellen Austin's crew scanned the horizon. The ghost ship was gone. The captain and his remaining crew were left to wonder what had become of their shipmates and the mysterious vessel. The story, as it is often told, ends on an even more mysterious note. Some versions of the tale claim that weeks later, the Ellen Austin spotted the schooner once again, drifting aimlessly as before. But this time, it was empty again. The prize crew that had been placed aboard had vanished without a trace, just like the original crew. Fearing the ship was cursed, the captain of the Ellen Austin abandoned it for good and sailed away as fast as he could. However, investigations by historians have found no official records of this incident, no shipping logs or newspaper articles from the time to confirm it. It seems the story of the Ellen Austin may be more seafaring folklore than historical fact. One of the most baffling and tragic disappearances in the history of the Bermuda Triangle involves a colossal vessel of the United States Navy. The USS Cyclops was not a small sailing ship. It was a massive collier over 540 feet long, designed to carry coal to fuel American warships around the world. In March of 1918, during the height of World War I, the Cyclops was on its return journey from Brazil to Baltimore. It was laden with a heavy cargo of manganese ore, a material vital for steel production. On board were 306 crew members and passengers. After making a brief, unscheduled stop in Barbados, the ship set sail and was never seen or heard from again. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops was a profound shock. This was a modern ship, equipped with a powerful radio that could send out distress signals. Yet, no SOS was ever received. The weather in the area was calm at the time of its last known position, ruling out a major hurricane. An enormous search effort was launched, scouring the vast expanse of the Atlantic, but it yielded absolutely nothing. No wreckage, no lifeboats, and no bodies were ever found. It was as if the enormous ship, along with every soul aboard, had simply vanished from the face of the earth. It remains the single largest loss of life in United States naval history, not involving direct combat. In the absence of any evidence, speculation ran wild. Because the disappearance occurred during wartime, many believed the Cyclops was the victim of a German submarine or a hidden sea mine. However, German naval records, reviewed after the war, showed no U-boat activity in that specific area at that time. Other theories were more outlandish. Some suggested the ship's captain, who was of German birth, had betrayed his country and handed the ship over to the enemy. Others whispered of a giant sea monster, a kraken from the depths dragging the ship down. The sheer completeness of the disappearance left room for every imaginable theory to take root. A more sober and logical explanation has since emerged, though it can never be proven with certainty. The USS Cyclops had experienced engine trouble on its journey and was operating with one of its two engines disabled. Furthermore, it was heavily loaded, possibly overloaded, with a dense cargo of manganese ore. This combination could have been disastrous. Structural failure is a key theory. The ship may have simply broken apart and sunk very quickly. If the heavy cargo shifted suddenly in a large wave, it could have caused the ship to capsize and sink in a matter of minutes, leaving no time for a distress call and scattering very little debris. It is a tragic but plausible end to a truly mystifying story. When we look at the Bermuda Triangle, not as a place of paranormal activity but as a dynamic part of our planet's ecosystem, the mysteries begin to fade, replaced by the incredible power of nature. This region of the Atlantic is known for its extreme and rapidly changing weather. It lies directly in the path of hurricanes that form in the warmer waters of the south. These storms can generate winds of immense force and waves that can reach heights of over 100 feet. Even the largest, most modern ships can be overwhelmed by a powerful hurricane. A small vessel or a low-flying aircraft caught in such a tempest would stand very little chance of survival. Another fascinating scientific theory involves the unique geology of the seafloor in this area. The ocean floor in the Bermuda Triangle is not flat. It contains some of the deepest underwater trenches on Earth, such as the Puerto Rico Trench, which plunges to a depth of over 27,000 feet. Furthermore, scientists have discovered large deposits of methane gas trapped in icy crystals, known as methane hydrates beneath the seabed. The theory suggests that a change in temperature or pressure could cause a sudden, massive release of this gas. This eruption would create a huge area of frothy, low-density water, causing any ship floating above it to lose buoyancy instantly and sink without warning. We must also consider the powerful and complex ocean currents. The Gulf Stream, a massive and swift current, flows directly through the Bermuda Triangle. It acts like a great river within the ocean, moving at a speed of several miles per hour. Any debris from a shipwreck or a crashed plane would be quickly captured by this current and carried far away from the site of the incident. This would make finding wreckage incredibly difficult, contributing to the sense that the vessel simply vanished. Combined with the extreme depths, it is not surprising that so many wrecks in this area have never been located. They are simply lost in the vastness of the ocean. Ultimately, the most important factor in many of these stories is human error. Navigational mistakes, poor judgment in the face of bad weather, and mechanical failures have been the cause of countless maritime and aviation disasters all over the world, not just in the Bermuda Triangle. When we examine the records, we find that many of the famous mysterious disappearances occurred during severe storms or involved vessels with known problems. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle is compelling, but the evidence points not to a paranormal force, but to a confluence of challenging geography, volatile weather, and the inherent risks of travel. The real mystery is not what happens in the Triangle, but why these stories continue to capture our imagination so powerfully.